So hey, what's up guys, this is AK, and you are watching my YouTube channel AKM. So guys, welcome back to a brand new tips and tricks video of PUBG Mobile. Jiggle is one of those movement techniques that looks simple, but the way you use it can completely change the result of a gunfight. A lot of players think jiggle simply means moving left and right while shooting. But that is only the basic idea. The real skill is controlling the speed of your movement based on the distance, the weapon you are using, and the type of fight you are taking. If you use a fast jiggle in the wrong situation, you can make your own aim worse. If you use a slow jiggle in a close-range fight, you can become an easy target. So the goal is not to jiggle as fast as possible. The goal is to use the right jiggle for the right fight. First, let us understand what jiggle is actually doing. When you move left and right while fighting, you are constantly changing your position relative to the enemy. This forces them to keep adjusting their crosshair while they are trying to track you. At the same time, your own crosshair is also moving. That means your movement has to work together with your aim. This is why random movement does not automatically make you harder to hit. If you are moving too much without controlling your crosshair, you may dodge a few bullets, but you will also miss your own shots. Good jiggle is controlled movement. You are changing your position just enough to make the enemy adjust, while keeping your own aim stable enough to deal consistent damage. Now the most important part is understanding the difference between slow jiggle and fast jiggle. Slow jiggle is much more useful at longer ranges. Imagine you are fighting an enemy across an open area, or you are holding an angle while using an assault rifle. At this distance, you do not need huge left and right movements. Instead, you want small and controlled movements that make your position slightly unpredictable. Move to one side, return toward the other side, and keep your crosshair focused on the enemy. The reason this works is because long-range fights are heavily affected by accuracy and tracking. If you start moving too aggressively, your crosshair can swing away from the target, and your spray becomes harder to control. Slow jiggle gives you a better balance between movement and accuracy. It also makes it harder for the enemy to land easy headshots while they are holding an angle on you. But there is one important mistake to avoid. Do not turn slow jiggle into a predictable rhythm. If you move left, right with exactly the same timing every time, an experienced player can read your movement. Try to change the timing naturally. Sometimes stay on one side slightly longer. Sometimes return faster. The goal is to make your movement difficult to predict without making it difficult for yourself to control. Now let us move into close range, because this is where fast jiggle becomes much more useful. When an enemy is only a few meters away, the fight can be decided extremely quickly. If you use slow movement here, your body stays exposed in one predictable area for too long. This gives the enemy more time to track you and keep their crosshair on your body. Fast jiggle changes that. You quickly move from one side to the other, forcing the enemy to react and adjust their aim much faster. This is especially useful when fighting around buildings, doors, rocks, vehicles, or other small pieces of cover. For example, imagine you are holding the corner of a building and an enemy suddenly pushes you. You do not want to stand completely still and allow them to lock their crosshair onto you. You also do not want to run around randomly because you will lose control of your own aim. Instead, use short and fast movements around the angle. Show yourself, move to the other side, and keep your crosshair ready for the moment the enemy appears. This creates a constant adjustment for the opponent while you maintain control of the fight. But there is another important detail. Fast jiggle does not mean moving your joystick as far as possible every time. That is a common mistake. If your movement is too wide, you can move completely away from your target and lose your crosshair placement. For close-range fights, think about short movement bursts. You want enough movement to make the enemy adjust, but not so much that your own aim becomes unstable. This becomes even more important when using weapons that depend heavily on tracking. Your movement and your camera control should feel connected. If your character moves left, your crosshair should already be prepared to follow the enemy. If your character moves right, you should still be able to keep the enemy inside your aiming area. That is what separates controlled jiggle from random movement. There is also another situation where players often use the wrong jiggle, and that is when peeking. When you are holding an angle, you do not need to constantly spam left and right. Instead, use movement with a purpose. If you are expecting an enemy to swing the corner, keep your crosshair where their body is likely to appear. Then use a small movement to make your position less predictable. The moment you see the enemy, focus on tracking them instead of continuing unnecessary movement. This is important because movement should support your aim, not fight against it. If you keep jiggling even after you have a clear target, you can make your own spray harder to control. So there is a simple mindset you should remember. Before the enemy appears, movement can help you stay unpredictable. Once you are actively tracking the enemy, movement should become controlled. And the closer the enemy gets, the more important fast movement becomes. The farther the enemy is, the more useful small and controlled movement becomes. You also need to understand that jiggle is not something you should use constantly. There are situations where stopping your movement is better. For example, if you have perfect cover and the enemy is not looking at you, there is no reason to expose yourself just to jiggle. Movement is useful when it gives you an advantage. Do not move simply because you think good players are always moving. Your goal is to make the enemy miss while keeping your own shots accurate. That means sometimes the best movement is a small movement, and sometimes the best movement is no movement at all. The best way to improve this is to practice both speeds separately. Start with slow jiggle at longer range. Focus on keeping your crosshair on the target while making small movements. Once that feels comfortable, practice fast jiggle in close range fights. Focus on short movement bursts and keeping your aim under control. After that, combine both. Start a fight with controlled movement, and as the distance becomes shorter, increase the speed of your jiggle. This teaches you something much more important than simply learning a movement trick. It teaches you to adapt your movement to the situation. Because mastering jiggle is not about being the fastest player in the lobby. It is about making your movement difficult for the enemy to predict while keeping your own aim consistent. Use slow jiggle when you need stability and controlled movement at longer ranges. Use fast jiggle when you need quick changes of position in close range fights. And most importantly, do not let your movement become more complicated than your aim can handle. When your movement and aim start working together, jiggle stops being just a fancy movement technique. It becomes a tool for controlling the fight. So guys, that was all for today's video. If you found this video helpful, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more PUBG Mobile tips, aiming guides, movement tutorials, and practical gameplay advice that will help you improve faster. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.